Hello, welcome back. This video here, we're going to look more at machine guarding, very important engineering control. And this one's going to be more on power transmission equipment. So there's a lot of it that's not real appropriate today. So I'm kind of going to skip over, but there's some very important stuff in here too. So let's get going. And why does this? Then again, I don't know why I do things either. So we're even. We're in subpart O, machinery and machine guarding, 1910.219, mechanical power transmission apparatus. Now, I'm gonna give you a little background here, okay? This picture was taken, my guess, in the early part of the last century, and was probably closer to OSHA was started than we are now. Because if you notice this, this is the way things were done back then. You could see they had all these machines are being driven from overhead, not conveyors, but overhead drivetrain of a axle that was powered on each end by a huge motor. I'm guessing I can't see it in here. Sometimes they were downstairs, they come up through the floor, they're up. This one happens to be up. So all these drive belts here are driving all this machinery. It's probably a pretty efficient way to do it as far as energy cost. And you can also see there's drives here, belts here, a lot of stuff going on. And you also see that these people maybe aren't real experienced. These children look like they're no more than 10 or 12 years old. And that's what they did back then. Of course, you also see guys wearing ties running machinery. That was what they did back then too. But this is where a lot of this stuff that's in this particular scene comes from, because of the way this power was driven, way to the power was carried to machines. They did it like this in a lot of times. So you're going to see a lot of the standard that's real pertinent to that. But let's get started on it. This section covers all types and shapes of power transmission belts, except the following when operating at 250 feet per minute or less. And okay, again, they're talking about belts now. So flat belts 1 inch or less in width, and more, that's the detail. We're not going to worry too much about that. Vertical and inclined belts, if not more than 2.5 inches wide and running at certain speeds per minute. So maybe guard with a midpoint belt and pulley guard. All right. For the textile industry, because of the presence of excessive deposits of lint, which constitutes a serious fire hazard, the sides and face sections only of midpoint belt and pulley guard are required, provided the guard shall extend at least 6 inches beyond the rim of the pulley and on the in-running and off-running sides of the belt, and at least 2 inches away from the rim and face of the pulley on all other directions. So don't worry about getting caught in there. And then this section A4 covers principal features with power transmission safeguards shall comply. And I just thought that was something to throw in there and lighten things up. This work centered, but actually free since Joe left. Hope Joe wasn't carried out in an ambulance, but he left. Prime mover guards. The flywheel is located so that any part is 7 feet or less above the floor platform shall be guarded. Okay, there's that 7 feet again above the floor, or they're going to say platform here, but floor work surface. Shall be guarded with enclosure, and I'm going to get on in the small stuff on this one here. We don't have to worry about this little stuff. These are prime mover guards. They're talking about flywheels. You know what a flywheel is? You have one in your car. You might not know it, but the flywheels, it may be part of transmission anymore. I don't know, but it was used to be between the engine and the transmission. And the idea is once you get up to speed, that the inertia of this flywheel keeps the speed going, even like when you're shifting gears and that type of thing. So we're not with smooth rims 5 feet or less in diameter. So they're talking about big flywheels here, which you don't think you're going to see too often anymore. But if you do, they're driving equipment. So if you do, you know where to go to look for them. Cranks and connecting rods, tail rods or extension piston rods. Again, these are all have details in here that I don't think you ever encounter, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on them. Shafting, each continuous line of shafting shall be secured in position against excessive endwise movement. And then it's the other one is position against endwise thrust. So they don't want the end of the shaft, end of the shafting flapping in the wind, so to speak. The horizontal shafting, again, there's that 7 feet or less from the floor work platform. So that's, you can see that throughout OSHA. Shafting under bench machine shall be enclosed by a stationary casing or by a trough on the top side to the bottom. And again, you hardly see this, so I'm not going to worry about too much. And there's your vertical and incline shafting, 7 feet or less from the floor workstation. Projecting shaft ends. We'll talk about this before, but you can see this is more in one place. Projecting shaft ends shall present a smooth edge and end and shall not project more than 1/2 the diameter of the shaft unless guarded by non-rotating caps or safety sleeves. Okay, unused keyways shall be filled up or covered. So that's a smooth shaft, 1/2 the diameter of the shaft. Power transmission apparatus located in basements. I don't think you're going to see this anymore. You could, so if you do, now you know where to go. Or you could go there. That's a good place to go when you're not sure. A guy, the Jacques St. Cyr, Canadian guy, he's a little bit crazy, but a good guy, and in California, and he worked in Poland, I want to think. He was all over the place. He knew his stuff. He was a good guy. And they had a vending machine there that sold beer. And one day they ran out of beer. They sent somebody with a wheelbarrow down the street to get more beer. I don't think they got anything done, but that was then. This is now. Again, pulleys. There you go, 7 feet or less from the floor work platform. So what they're saying here is if it's above 7 feet, they don't have to be guarded. Okay. So and there's different things for pulleys. Broken pulleys should not be used. Pulley speeds intend to operate at room speed in excess of manufacturer's normal recommendations. Shall be specially designed and carefully balanced for the speed at which they are to operate. Now that's something that you won't see a little bit in anywhere in OSHA that I can think of. If they're operated outside of the manufacturer's recommendations, that's probably going to be considered an OSHA violation. OSHA will look at manufacturer's recommendations. We got, I don't know if you wrote up in Malta one time because the ammonia detector wasn't being tested in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. So when you buy a piece of equipment, any kind of equipment, read the stuff that comes with it, and that will give you a lot of information. If it says in there to lubricate this thing every 24 hours on it, then you need to do it. All right, and again, horizontal belts and ropes, there's your 7 feet again. There's your 7 feet again on this. So again, there's where you're getting between them, but overhead chain, there's, all right, vertical and incline belts, vertical belts, cone pulley belts. I think that's a cone pulley that can vary the speed with a variable pulley by using a cone type of pulley. And then if the cone is literally less than 3 feet from the floor working platform, the cone, pulley, and belt should be guarded to a height of 3 feet, regardless of whether the belt is endless or laced with rawhide. Not sure what that means. Belt tighteners. Heck, I'm still confused with why I need to put my kick in the oven at 120 degrees. So that's why you say 120 degrees to an engineer. It might be different than 120 degrees to a chef. Gear should be guarded in accordance with the following methods: by complete enclosure or by a standard guard, at least 7 feet high. There you go. So there's your 7 feet again. Hand operated gears does not apply to that. Sprockets and chains, all sprocket wheels and chains shall be enclosed unless they are more than 7 feet above the floor work platform. Where the drive extends over other machines or working areas, protection against falling shall be provided. When frequent oiling must be done, openings with hinged or sliding self-closing covers shall be provided. All points not readily accessible shall have oil feed tubes if lubricant is to be added while machinery is in motion. So that's just a way to oil them. Guarding friction drives. Again, we're not going to get into that too much. Projecting keys, set screws, and other projections in revolving parts shall be removed or made flush or guarded by a metal cover. This subparagraph does not apply to keys or set screws within gear or sprocket casings or other enclosures, nor to keys, set screws, or oil cups in hubs of pulleys less than 20 inches in diameter, where they are within the plane of the rim of the pulley. I'm not sure what they're meaning there, but we can delve into that if you want to, but I'm not going to. It is recommended, however, that no projecting set screws or oil cups be used in any revolving pulley or part of machinery. It is recommended. You don't see that in too many OSHA regulations. They make recommendations, but back then they were a kinder, gentler OSHA, I guess. All revolving collars, including split collars, shall be cylindrical, and screws or bolts used in collars should not project beyond the largest periphery of the collar. Makes sense. Shaft couplings shall be so constructed as to present no hazard from bolts, nuts, set screws, or revolving surfaces. Bolts, nuts, set screws, and set screws will, however, be permitted where they are covered with safety sleeves or where they are used parallel with the shafting and are countersunk or else do not extend beyond the flange of the coupling. So what they're saying there is when you have a coupling, the shaft's going to rotate pretty fast. You don't want anything sticking out of it. All drill cups and pans shall be securely fastened. Okay, I don't know why you wouldn't do that to begin with, but hey, now you know why. Guards, cut off couplings, or clutch pulleys have projecting parts. There you go, 7 feet or less. And there's an engine rooms. In engine rooms, a guardrail, preferably with toe board, may be used instead of the guard required by paragraph K1, which was just this paragraph right above it, provided such room is occupied only by engine room attendants. There you go. You don't see that too often in OSHA either. That makes an exception to it based on who's there. So I got to worry about belt shifters. Shipper pull. That says shipper pulls, not stripper pulls. It's shipper pulls. There's your belts again. Okay, now you can see most of the stuff was written when things were just done differently. That's all there is to it. And so there may be some of that stuff still around. If it is, you know where to go. But now we're going to talk about standard guards, general requirements. Standard conditions shall be secured by the use of the following materials: expanded metal, perforated or solid sheet metal, wire mesh on a frame of angle iron, or iron pipe securely fastened to the floor or to the frame of the machine. All metal should be free from burrs and sharp edges. All right, that's the materials. Most of the time, expanded metal is used for guards. Methods of manufacture: expanded metal, sheet or perforated metal, and wire mesh shall be securely fastened to the frame. We talked about fastening guards before. And there's one you don't have to worry about because it's reserved. I guess it's shy. Approved materials, minimum requirements. The materials and dimensions specified in this paragraph shall apply to all guards except horizontal overhead belts, rope, cable, or chain guards more than 7 feet above the floor platform. All guards shall be rigidly braced every 3 feet or fractional part of their height to some fixed part of machinery or building structure. Where a guard is exposed to contact with moving equipment, additional strength may be necessary. Wood guards may be used in the woodworking and chemical industries, in industries where the presence of fumes or where manufacturing conditions would cause a rapid deterioration of metal guards. Also in construction work and in locations outdoors where extreme cold or extreme heat make metal guards and railings undesirable. In all industries, wood guards shall not be used. Okay, in industry, the presence of fumes is going to mess up metal. I don't think I want to be working there. I would assume you'd have a lot of other protections, but if the fumes are so bad, it's going to deteriorate the metal. What's it going to do to your lungs? And overhead belts, don't worry about that. And I am not going to read all that stuff because that's just about these things, same things. Rope and chain drives. The guardrails. Guardrails should be 42 inches in height with a mid-rail between the top rail and the floor. Posts shall not be more than 8 feet apart. They are to be permanent and substantial, smooth and free from protruding nuts, bolts, and splinters. If made of pipe, the post shall be 1 1/4 inches inside diameter or larger. If made of metal, shapes, or bars, their section shall be equal in strength of that of 1 1/2 by 1 of 1 1/2 by 1 1/2 by 3/16 inch angle iron. 1 1/2 by 1 1/3. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. If made of wood, the post shall be 2 by 4 inches or larger. The upper rail shall be 2 by 4 inches, or 2 1 by 4 inch strips, one at the top, one at the side of the post. The mid rail may be 1 by 4 inches or more. Where panels are fitted with expanded metal or wire mesh, the middle rails may be omitted. Where guard is exposed to contact with moving equipment, additional strength will be required. Toe boards shall be 4 inches or more in height, of wood, metal, or metal grill, not exceeding 1 inch mesh. So what's a toe board? Toe boards on the you have a railing, and it's above. There's people walking underneath it, and that happens a bit, mezzanine or something like that too. So the toe board is off the ground, and it. Oops, I want to back toe boards. So it keeps stuff getting knocked off from the floor, knocked off on people's heads that are underneath it. All power transmission equipment shall be inspected at intervals not exceeding 60 days and be kept in good working condition at all times. Shafting should be kept in alignment, free from rust and excess oil or grease. Where explosives, explosive dust, flammable vapors, or flammable liquids exist, the hazard of static parts from shafting shall be carefully considered. That's another really odd OSHA thing. Where explosives that exist, the hazards of static sparks from shafting shall be carefully considered. Yeah, we carefully considered it. Didn't think it was good. Didn't do anything about it, but we carefully considered it. So we're legal. That's odd. You can tell that's an old OSHA standard. Bearings, hangers, pulleys, belts, lubrication. All right. The following slides are reviews of some of the key points of this presentation. I kind of weeded through it and picked out what I thought would be applicable now. To your projecting shaft ends, again, we talked about this, and you'll hear it again because you'll see it. Projecting shaft ends shall present a smooth edge and end and shall not project more than 1/2 the diameter of the shaft unless guarded by non-rotating caps. The caps the sleeve. So if you have a 2 inch shaft, it can't project more than 1/2 inch if it's smooth. Unused keyway shall be filled up or covered. So you know what a keyway is? That's that groove cut in a shaft where you put the key in there to attach a pulley so it won't slip. And if it has a keyway in it, though, it can't stick out at all. So that 1/2 of the diameter of the shaft does not apply if it has a keyway in it. It can't be. It has to be cut off flush or covered. And that was just the point of the 7 feet or more. And minimum clearance is 7 feet. I don't want to put that one in there, to be honest with you. Keys, set screws, and other projections and revolving parts are removed or made flush or guarded. So that's if you have something moving, you have a key or set screw or anything in it, you need to do something about it because that could be hazardous. It doesn't take much. A little set screw can grab your clothing, and once it grabs your clothing, it can do a lot of damage to you. So that's that part of it. It's not. There's a few things in there in the that standard, but you can see it's kind of, even the way it's written, it's kind of old, and it applies to that type of thing that I showed you in the first picture mostly. So just like a lot of the things in OSHA, the guarding, a lot of the stuff that you see in the previous guarding was machine guarding, was something like a punch press operator, that type of thing. That a lot of that stuff still exists, maybe, but not like it used to. So anyhow, but guarding is something as a safety professional that you are going to look at, and you're going to like it because it really, really does a good job. If it's done right, and if it's kept up, and if it's does all the things it's supposed to do, and it's not easily tampered with or removable, and it has to be, but again, it has to be put back. We had a case where a piece of equipment at a chicken plant was a lady got hurt on it, got her hand caught in it and took off some skin on it. And the next guy was, oh, you can't guard this because look at that, look at that. Well, guess what? You could guard it. I mean, I was new there and I didn't know. So I didn't see, guess what? There was a guard, but the sanitation group didn't put it back on. So guards aren't worth a darn if they're laying on the floor. Okay. So you have to make sure if there are guards, they're on there. And the people should be trained. Hey, there's a guard on this machine, and it can't be fastened because we have to move it, whatever. But if that guard is not there, you are not allowed to work on this machine. You call somebody. So I walked by that machine afterwards. Every time I did, the guard was on it, because if it wasn't, I'd shut the line down. I'd probably got in trouble, but I would have done it anyhow. All right. That's something on guarding. And so be safe.